Hello and welcome to this edition with me, Yvonne Msemembo. In this program, we're focusing in the agricultural sector, what challenges farmers are facing, what needs to be done to attract more interest in the agricultural sector in the country. In the Intrapreneur segment, we'll be hearing business solutions, how you can stay on top in your business. And in brand talk, we'll be talking about counterfeits, how to avoid counterfeits when it comes to HP products. My name is Yvonne Msemembo saying welcome to Business Edition. We're going to be focusing on the agriculture sector in Tanzania, and to talk more about this, I have with me today Helen Otaru Okoidion, Communications Specialist, and I also have John Matiko, who's an ICT and Exhibition Director with Biz Farm Investment. You're organizing an exhibition and conference next month on agriculture. But before we talk about that, let's come back to the actual issue of agriculture in Tanzania. It's supposed to be the backbone of the economy in the country. About 80% of Tanzanians are farmers, and yet they are poor. Helen, why?
Historically, the country is supposed to be focusing on farming more than any other, let's say, science or industry. However, what we have seen is that over the years, unfortunately, the investment into the sector has not increased. As much as we look at the figures, we may say the figures have increased slightly, but in general, in terms of percentage overall of distribution of the government finances into the sector are still limited. Why do I say so? I'm saying that not looking only at the fact of production, but we're looking also at the livelihood of the people, the infrastructure, the technology, the health overall is very important. The housing of these people and the total investment of what happens with the farmer, because they're the backbone of the economy for our country, is unfortunately still limited. We see focus of investment and economic growth happening in the cities, the capital and the bigger cities, and it is not really focused yet in the rural areas. And this is the biggest challenge. Another challenge we're looking at is the rules and regulations of the farmers' products when it comes to the market. There's also, this is an issue that is growing over and over again. We see the influx of the imported goods, reduction of the local produced goods in the market, and this is driven by a number of economic factors, and one of them being also the integration of our East African community, whereby we see the challenges from other farmers.
Despite what Helen has said, that the investment has not been as much as we'd expect it to be, but we've seen some changes when it comes to modernizing farming. We've seen a little bit of improvement there with innovation, particularly in the telecommunications sector. We've seen that mobile companies are now trying to work with farmers in terms of making them to have market information and things like that. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that.
These telecommunication companies, let's say like Tigo, they just have e-Kilimo, and Zantel, which is Z-Kilimo. So they just created a product for the farmers so that they can access some markets to sell their products. They can use these mobile transactions, which is mobile money. We can say Z-Pesa, Tigo Pesa, and M-Pesa, so that these farmers can, instead of just moving from their site or from their farming area to the capital city, they can just communicate and send this money via mobile phones. So I think telecommunication companies, they can really transform our agriculture sector.
Another area that I think could also have impact in farming in Tanzania is the financial institutions. We've seen how the government has tried to get them on board, but the response has been not as big as we'd expect it to be. Helen, why?
The agricultural sector is the main one after all. But the risk, as we know already that the risk factor unfortunately is high, and not only high due to the fact that the farmers themselves are not very well educated, but it is also high, unfortunately, because there is no guarantee of the return in the process. And this is interlinked, yeah, with the poor investment. I will not say lack, it is there, but it is not adequate, it is not enough. The poor investment in the sector, which affects the return overall. What do I mean? What I mean is that if a farmer invests in a certain product and he will borrow the money from the bank or any other financial institution, there is no guarantee that that product or that crop will yield the desired results or expected results, because the farmer somewhere on the way may not be well equipped or well informed about the usage of the same seeds, manure, irrigation. He may not have enough funds to think about improving his knowledge as he continues developing the crop. He will think that I have the knowledge, I know how to plant, and that is it. But it is a process. Farming is a process. Every single stage during that process needs to be also revisited, and you need to understand what happens at every stage. So, virtue of that, you find that there is a little bit of, fear factor from the financial institutions, and it is normal. And also, history has shown that, unfortunately, not every investor returns the funds, and not every borrower refunds the money. So the financial institutions also work based on the history. And this is why they would rather go in a direction where they know the risk factor is minimum. But on the positive side is that today, as we speak, many financial institutions are actually looking towards investing in a small-scale entrepreneur or farmer. So we are seeing change and we are seeing improvement, and I believe we will get there.
If we look at European countries, or we look at America, we've seen so much transformation in agriculture. We've seen, agriculture contributes to economic development, but this is not happening in Africa, where we've got land, we've got just about everything we should, be proud of, but it's not working, it's not enough.
It's not enough because we haven't invested. As a farmer, you may be excited that you have all the land, you may have the technology, you may have all the seeds to plant your products. Where will you sell them? How will you take them from your farm to the market? How will you continue selling them? And most of the time you want to sell outside your country, not within the country. You want to get your foreign currency. That's where the money is. It's outside the borders. That whole process needs to be streamlined and needs to be simplified for the farmer. And we're yet to get there. And this is one of the challenges. The second challenge is that as a farmer, and this is what I have initially said, there is little investment in developing the farmer, educate them. Let them feel that farming, going into agricultural sector, is a very prestigious, let's say, ambition, or it's one of the career, just like being a doctor, being a teacher. Farming and the farmer should also be respected, and they should feel that way. It begins with them. So if they feel that they can do something about it, it will grow. We should also respect them and invest in them, in the farmer. What do I mean? I mean, let them know the business part of it, not just the tilling of the land. Let them understand that this land is your business. This is your investment. This is your wealth. How do you turn that land into money? What does it mean in terms of money? And what that money over the period of time, over 10 years, over 20 years, over the generation. What does it mean to your children? Now, when they understand that, they will value that land, and they will value everything they work on that land, and they will be able to demand what is rightfully theirs as the farmers. And we on our side, I talk about the private sector and the government together. We should look into investing and supporting them, because this is the backbone of our economy. We in the cities, we enjoy good vegetables and fruits, but they come from the inland. And they come from somebody who has invested their time and effort. But what have we done in return to assist them. So they have to be treated as entrepreneurs, as business people, and as investors, because they invest in their own land. And they have to be treated as leaders because they have people that they will employ. What do they do to the employees? Whatever we treat and teach our people in the cities, it should be done to them, replicated to them. And they will be then their own owners. They will feel that they are responsible and they will work harder in achieving the goals.
John, maybe you can tell us a little about this conference and exhibition, Agritech. Who's going to be there and issues that we know discussed through this conference and the kind of people taking part in the exhibition. Tell us about it, John.
We're creating a platform for the farmers, those big investors on agriculture, technologists, the investors, innovators, and these machinery manufacturers. Those are the people which we just want to meet to bring all together so that they can discuss on the technologist side of how do the agriculture can be transformed from where we are to the next stage. So we are just inviting all the farmers, starting from Dar es Salaam, which are the investors in the agriculture sector, and the farmers from the inland, which is from Mbeya, Iringa, Mwanza, all the regions which we always know that they are the main producers of this, the farming and poultry. So we just want to invite them to hear to be trained, to be educated. It's just it's a B2B communication.
So
they
like
just sharing of the experiences, exchange ideas. Yes.
It's good. It's well and good organizing a conference, bringing them together, talking about agriculture and farmers put together and manufacturers and so forth in financial institutions. But at the end of the day, what next?
I guess there is nothing new that these people don't know about each other, yeah. But what the conference focuses on is the starting point in trying to make the voices of all parties heard. And when I mean all parties, I mean the government, the financial institutions, the farmers themselves, the practitioners and the investors. And we're talking also about the intellectuals, and these are the institutions, the researchers. So you find that all parties put together under one big roof within this conference will have a chance to hear each other, to discuss things, and to find solutions for their way forward. One other element that will be beneficial is to have one-to-one communication with the technological partners. We are the users of the technology, but they are the ones who bring the technology to us. So it will be good for them, the users, and for us, the users as well, and the intellectual people as well, to come together and understand that what we create, what we're doing, how does it impact on this person? Most of the technology that is brought into the country comes from the Western world. We have from Germany, from Japan, from China, but we are the Africans. How does that technology affect us in our climate, in our working environment, with our cultures, tradition, and economic factor? So this will help both parties to understand each other, the user and the provider within this conference. And it is the first one because we plan to have it annually and rotate in every region after a period of probably a couple of years, or maybe next year if we're successful, because we want to reach the people on the ground, the end users of the product.
Why do you think, when it comes to private sector, would expect at least a little of interest there, but it hasn't been so big? They don't seem to show interest in investing in agriculture in Tanzania. Why?
I guess, again, every businessman wants to see the returns within a short period of time. And this is also the reason why the financial institutions are also delaying a little bit, because the returns come after a long period of time. And this is one of the issues. But I would say private sector is involved in farming. It is just not that obviously open. And this conference will open that chapter and will put together the private sector, and we will be able to see and actually maybe even understand that why the private sector is not as involved in agriculture as we were expecting it to be. But there are many, many farmers in this country, and they invest in farming without going big due to the challenges that we have heard earlier, financials and so many. So they are there. But the investment is improving now. You see, there are private factors and there are private farming also. We have many associations that are under private sector which deal with different crops. We have different growers association, we have farmers association that even go into poultry, into herding. So it is actually growing, and the support towards the government effort is growing also.
So are you optimistic? Do you think that agriculture will revolutionize the economy, shall we say, in the next 10, 15 years from today?
Agriculture has to go on, and it has to be revolutionized, and it is economic factor. Reason being, we're not a technological country, so we need to understand either we become the Japan or the Singapore, where we focus on technology, service provision, or we continue with what we can do best, and what God has given us is land, weather. We have beautiful products from the land, so why not make the best of it? Why create something and invest into something that is difficult to start? We already have all the initial material, so let's take that.
And you?
If we really use this land we have and we combine with the technologies regarding the agriculture sector, I'm definitely sure that this agriculture will step forward from where we are to the next stage.
Welcome back to Business Edition. And now, in the entrepreneur segment, we don't actually have an entrepreneur, but we have somebody who deals with entrepreneurs. She deals with them in finding solutions for their businesses to make them successful in their businesses. And her name is Joanne Ajong, Business Manager of NFT Consult. Very briefly, before we venture into what solutions you have for entrepreneurs, just tell us what you do as NFT Consult.
Well, thank you, Yvonne, for having us. We help businesses become more successful. We do this by partnering with the various businesses, identifying what needs they have, what challenges they are facing, and really recommending the right solutions for them. So as NFT, we're a human resource consulting firm, but we're also a training and personnel development firm. So we come to you, sit together with you, and understand what challenges do you have, because at the end of the day, if it is affecting your bottom line, then you want a solution for it, and our job is to provide those solutions.
What sort of challenges do businesses face, in starting the businesses and carrying operations? What do they say, and what sort of solutions do you have for those challenges?
We have businesses who come to us when they've just set up. How do I employ the right people with the right frame of mind, with the right qualities? So we'll help you on that aspect. What you're trying to do is you want to employ people who have the right kind of character traits, yes, but also what are the behavior things that are going to affect them in the workplace? What are you hiring for? It's not enough to have the right skills, which you might have got in the workplace, in your previous workplace, or you've been trained in college, but also, how do I wake up every morning and I'm energized to come to work? Yeah, those are the people who have just come in. Now, for ongoing businesses, normally they're saying, we want to increase on our bottom line, which is what it comes down to. But I feel I have the right people, but there's something missing. So then how do we help these businesses? They come to us and talk to us. And then we're looking at addressing behavior issues, like time management, which seems like a really small thing. But when you look at it, if I'm not keeping time, it's affecting my colleagues in the workplace, or it's affecting a certain report my boss should present maybe to a bank in order to get financing. And it's not as simple as time management. How does time management then translate to every other aspect of the business? We are thinking about proactivity. We come into the workplace and we want to go away from a challenge where Yvonne, as my boss, has to tell me all the time what I need to do, or if it's not in my job description, I'm not doing it. Be proactive. Look at the whole vision of the organization. What can you do to support the rest of the organization? How does your contribution as Joanne or as Yvonne contribute to the whole of, let's say, NFT Consult. Because if you can't do that, then forever we are going to come to meetings every week and we're going to discuss the same challenges and we're not finding solutions. You know what they say, insanity is trying to resolve the same challenge using the same methods and hoping it's going to change. So what we help businesses do, how do we increase on initiative in the workplace? How do we address the challenge of time management? How do we address the lack of energy? Because we are tasked with so many things. I have so many responsibilities as a manager, but I also have responsibilities in my private life. So how do I balance out being, maybe a wife, a mother, a friend, with being a manager and a mentor and a colleague? How do I bring the best results into the workplace? So we sit together with customers and really understand. And at the end of the day, it has to affect your bottom line. If we can't show you how you're going to make more money, then it becomes a challenge. So yes, that's what we help you to do.
Okay, fine. So we're looking at these businesses, the entrepreneurs. So by looking at them, what makes a good entrepreneur and what makes a bad entrepreneur?
In anything, people are your greatest asset. This is where we come in, because you will have the financing, you will have the building, maybe you're a farmer, you will have the land, you will have the machinery, but if your people don't have the right mindset, then your machines are forever going to break down, or work is not going to get done because everyone didn't get an instruction. So it comes down to the people. The people we work with, the clients we work with, the businesses we work with, we encourage them to look at people as your greatest asset. So how do we then equip these people to bring their best into the workplace? The most profitable organizations invest in their people. How do I make sure my people feel that my organization is the best to work with? It starts from when they walk into the workplace. How are they being treated? Me as a manager, how am I treating the people? Yeah, what kind of character traits am I exuding that they will learn from me? Because everything else can be taught. Yeah, we can teach you how to manage finances. We can teach procurement how to do their job. We can teach a lot of these things, but the behavior characteristics which we have to learn. That's why when you come to work with us, it's a process. It's a 21-day process because we don't just change instantly. But we believe people is a serious investment, and that's something we need to focus on.
Once workers are motivated, of course, productivity increases.
Yes. Obviously. And motivation is in so many different ways. We don't just motivate by money, which is something a lot of people think happens, but we also motivate by how I treat you. How am I mentoring you? How am I coaching you? Am I giving you the right tools of trade? When you come into the workplace, do I have a growth plan for you? This motivates you. So if I'm thinking today I'm earning 500,000, if there's a growth plan in the organization that I can clearly see, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to improve next year. I'm going to work towards that. An improvement comes with a pay rise. So by default, the money is going to come, but let's work on you as an individual first.
Okay, so maybe a final message for those in various businesses to be able to make it to the top and stay on top.
It's very easy to try and climb, but staying on the top is the challenge. I can't emphasize enough how important people are. Let's treat people the right way. We're talking 7 habits for highly effective people, basically. The habits, they're things we can adjust to. The principles are timeless. If I'm saying be proactive, in the 16th century they knew how to be proactive, but in a different way for the right time. Today, in 2014, we have to learn to be proactive differently, begin with the end in mind. What we're basically saying is, let's use these principles, but let's apply them timely to this environment where we are working, because that's the only way we shall stay on top. Because if you know the principles and are trying to apply them like it's the 16th century, then you won't be successful. So we have to use the principles, the 7 habits, but then we have to apply them to 2014.
With me today, I had Joan Ajilong, the business manager of Franklin Covey, Tanzania. Thank you very much for taking part in this program.
Thank you, Yvonne.
All right. Welcome back to Business Edition, and now let's meet Sanjeev Sachdev, the Managing Director of Supply Stores. He'll be talking about HP products and how to avoid counterfeit products when it comes to buying HP products. So join me and let's hear what Sanjeev Sachdev has to say about their products.
One of our major products at supply stores are our inks and toners. The issue with toners is that it's one of the largest counterfeit products, and it's very important that our end users understand how to determine what an original product is. Every toner has a serial code and has a hologram, which if you were to turn to left and right, you will see that it'll have an original watermark presented. So it's very important, one, that you check the hologram on a toner. Number two is that you make sure that the strip has not been torn and it's a sealed package. And number three, inside of this contains an airtight bag of which the toner is placed within. If there's any leakage, if there's anything which is opened and which is unmarked, you'll know straight away that it is a counterfeit product. Additionally, the new products coming into this market are of a black and white packaging. Anything which is blue and white is old product and typically is not meant from this market. As an HP reseller, we buy authorized products from authorized distributors. Now, when looking at ink printers, such as the one down here, before opening your ink, you must ensure that the expiry date is valid and is within at least a year of purchase. This will ensure that the ink does not dry and gives you the maximum benefit. When changing the ink on the machine, ensure that you remove the ink and return it back to your reseller so that we can recycle the product for you. Every year we recycle thousands of products and it's sent back to Europe, and none of our products go into landfill. Opening the product, again, ensure that the packaging is sealed and that there are no issues and the expiry date is very clearly displayed. When opening up the product, again, you'll see it is also sealed as well, with HP written all over it, with a manual in English and various different languages, and HP ink cartridge clearly displayed all over the product. Again, this is an airtight bag, and when opened, you can see the quality of the packaging at the same time. Again, clearly mentioned all over the product is the HP branding, the part number, and all the serial codes, etc., which go with it. This is a 940 XL ink, and we're going to go put it back into this machine here. Now, this is one of the new OfficeJet Pro series of machines, which gives you a much better output for ink in the office. This is new technology which HP has brought out, and when you insert the ink into the machine, you then close the door, and the machine will then verify that the cartridge is a genuine HP ink installed product. The machine will verify the product itself and will ensure that it's working in the right manner.
Well, that's it from Business Edition. Until next week, same time, my name is Yvonne Msimembo saying goodbye.